Peace, people. I was talking to a friend of mine, and needless to say, it was frustrating. What we were talking about was the State of the Black Union. You know, that thing that they have every February, every year. Um, the vision and direction of our people is a collective one. We all represent different points of view, specifically for the whole, and not just for ourselves. It's a natural phenomenon of nature that the cultural body has different ways of looking at reality so that it can problem solve and be creative. My biggest problem with these forums is this, like the State of the Black Union. It's like your parents are black leaders. You know, the parents are like the black leadership. And they have a family meeting to discuss what the plans for the family are going to be. And the children, which is the black nation, the masses, come to the meeting. And then when we get there, the parents say, "So, what are we going to do?" And the kids are looking at each other like, "Huh? Nigga, ain't you the fucking leader?" You know, I mean, y'all feel me? This is the pattern every time, and it happens too often for me to think that it's not intentional. They are talking about irrelevant shit like personal responsibility. Let me tell you a little something about personal responsibility within the context of this whole situation, the so-called struggle in the black nation. Let me ask you all something. When music went from analog to digital, what sacrifices did you have to make in your personal life? What was the personal responsibility you had to take in order for that to happen? When currency stopped being backed by gold and silver and then went into digital and now cashless, did you have to pray 5 times a day or fast? Did it matter whether or not you ate pork or whether you were vegan? No. Why? Because the only thing you have to do as the masses is participate in the system the creators implement. When a system changes, those within the system, moral or amoral, righteous or unrighteous, adapt to the change. The problem is the leaders are not creating the system, our leaders. I'll get back to that later. They're talking about creating it. Year after year after year after year. And this is why black people don't frustrate me. The masses of black people working in 9 to 5s don't frustrate me. Because the average black person has to worry about issues like food, clothing, and shelter, and taking care of their family or themselves, absent a socioeconomic and political infrastructure provided by their people that can protect and help them. They don't have time to be mapping out socioeconomic and political blueprint for the black nation. They are not the problem. Their dysfunctional behavior in light of this absence is at best a nuisance, an irritant, or an annoyance to me. Black leadership, black representatives, black elected officials, black unelected officials are the problem. These people don't have jobs like us. Their job is to work for us. It's their job to map out the blueprint, and we are only there to co-sign and participate in what they map out. So the question is, the big elephant question in the room is, when is this going to happen? And this is what I was saying about the State of the Black Union and the problems, with the way we see things and the way we look at reality as a people. So then she comes back at me with the problem is each person not doing what they're supposed to do. And it all starts in the home, totally personalizing the issue and talking about her own experiences rather than looking at the problem holistically. So I just want to know from y'all, which is more important when it comes to the empowerment of black people in this country? Personal responsibility, meaning the individual, or a system, the context the individual exists in. And I was making a point to her about the Matrix movie in relation to our situation as a people. And in the Matrix, the architects saw that the subjects didn't accept the programming. And instead of bitching and moaning and complaining and Bill Cosby, engaging in all this Bill Cosbyism about how the subjects act or don't act and how this one ain't acting right, you know what they did? They went back to the drawing board, dig deeper into the behavior of the subjects, saw how they operated and related to reality, and then came back with a system the subjects would accept. In other words, you don't argue with the lab rats. And I know people don't want to refer to themselves as lab rats, but the bottom line is you have scientists that map out the blueprints for how we live and the society we live in, and then we live in it. So unless you're an architect, you're a part of this, you're a subject. I mean, you remember the part in the movie when Agent Smith was talking? Actually, I had it here. Let me see. Oh, this was his line of dialogue. He says, "Did you know that the first Matrix was designed to be a perfect human world where none suffered, where everyone would be happy? It was a disaster. No one would accept the program. Entire crops were lost. Some believe we lack the programming language to describe your perfect world, but I believe that as a species, human beings define their reality through suffering and misery. The perfect world was a dream that your primitive cerebrum kept trying to wake up from, which is why the Matrix was redesigned to this, the peak of your civilization." Now check that out. In other words, they did what true architects of a system were supposed to do. In order for the system to work, the architect has to have knowledge of the parts of the system and how those parts work in relation to one another. The group of like-minded people will never be a large group, because the most knowledgeable and wise members, or the intelligentsia of the community, should be assigned the duty of designing the system and implementing it. I mean, that goes without saying. And it's their job to assure the system works for every part in it, and that every part sees itself as helping to serve the system as participating in it. And those group of like-minded people, they have a name. You know what they're called? Leaders and our representatives. I know people hate that term leadership, but I noticed that if you're so against the concept of leadership, why not abolish government and leaders? Because these people out here making moves that's affecting our everyday lives. But you don't have a problem with that, but then you're going to turn around and say that we don't need leaders. Well, if we don't need leaders, we don't need government. Go all the way, don't go halfway with it. With all that said, how can someone say that in order for the system to be developed, every black person in the nation has to be involved in the construction of the system, and that the system will not be created until every last member of the black nation accepts personal responsibility? I mean, are the subjects supposed to be the architects at the same time? To me, that's as silly as saying the sheep are supposed to be the shepherds simultaneously. As I've stated numerous times before, if the sheep are scattered in the field, it makes no sense to go to each individual sheep and berate it for not staying with the pack. Look for the fucking shepherd. I mean, to make it more, I guess, bring it down to earth, or in layman's term, can a group of guys in street clothes beat the New York Giants in a football game? How do you expect the players to just go out on the field and take personal responsibility for the team winning with no uniforms, no coaches, no plays, no strategy, no guidance, and no direction? I mean, come on. Why is it within those contexts we have a total understanding, overstanding, and understanding, and try to use a new set of rules when it comes to our own black asses? Anyway, I'm going to leave you with my man Mike Singletary, because he put it best, and he was using this in a different context than I am, but if you pay attention to what he's saying, just apply it to where I'm going with this. Alright? Peace.
You know what? This is how I believe, okay? I'm from the old school. I believe this. I would rather play with 10 people and just get penalized all the way until we got to do something else, rather than play with 11 when I know that right now that person is not sold out to be a part of this team. It is more about them than it is about the team. I cannot play with them, cannot win with them, cannot coach with them, can't do it. I want winners. I want people that want to win.